Hi. Hi, everyone who's been watching. Welcome to the last live event of Camp YA. Well, the last of this run. We're gonna do this again. Definitely. Even though I need a break right now. So this is our closing ceremony. First of all, we are going to talk to Leanne from Room to Read, and then we're going to announce our camp winners. So if you have been a great camper, if you've entered giveaways, this is your moment. Well, in about 45 minutes is your moment. So hang around until then. But first, let me introduce, or let Leanne introduce herself. So tell us a little bit about who you are and who you work for.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to everyone at Camp YA for inviting me. I'm really excited to be part of a virtual event. I feel very tech savvy now. My name is Leanne McNulty, and I work for an international charity called Room to Read. We're an education charity. Um, Most of our work happens in low-income communities in Asia and Africa. Um, and we focus on two kind of critical milestones in a child's education. The first one is ensuring a strong foundation of reading and writing, and also a love of reading and a habit of reading in primary school. So by grade one or two, and that just makes sure that kids have that solid foundation for future learning. And our second focus area is for adolescent girls. So that is a program that supports them to finish secondary school through mentoring and life skills lessons. So yeah, that's a little bit about kind of our mission. We want to ensure good quality education for children. We just don't believe that kids should win a lottery of life and have different opportunities than children in other geographies. And so we work with governments to create long lasting, sustainable change in the education system.
I just realized that I messed up by forgetting to put our video on. Sorry, everyone. You were hearing us, you weren't seeing us. I was distracted. My bad. But yeah,
We on video now?
we are on video,
Hi
but
again.
everyone heard you. It's the last event, guys. I'm sorry. It's because I was trying a different
Liz,
mode in our streaming software, and I forgot that I had to then click a different button to make the video go. Yeah, but it's fine. It's
it happens. Well, I'm glad everyone still. That was the most important part, right? So good,
yeah.
good.
I was like, oh no, is she gonna have to say all of this again?
I can
Okay,
say it again. That's fine.
we're fine. We're good. You know. Okay. Sorry. Thanks everyone for being good sports on the chat as well. Um sorry. What were you saying?
I was wrapping up the kind of mission of Room to Read just by
Yeah.
saying that, like, we are interested in long-term systemic change. So we really want to make sure that we're empowering local communities and local departments of education to make these changes. So we work closely with the government, and we're actually part of our new strategy is to work with governments to integrate Room to Read's program into the national curriculum. So things like making sure so it helped training their teachers in the way we would train teachers and librarians, implementing some of our life skills lessons for girls into the regular curriculum so that all kids have access to it. And ensuring, so we set up libraries in primary schools. So part of what we're doing is ensuring that the library model becomes the national model, and that schools are integrating library time into the national curriculum as well. Because it's one thing having a beautiful library in your school, it's another for it actually to get used. So we have like a very simple but effective checkout system. So we're recording how many books the kids are picking and what books they're taking home. And we help schools to integrate that into their national curriculum so that they're using their library really effectively, and kids are spending lots of time in there and taking the books home to share with their families.
Oh, I think I'm just like totally in love with this. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about you. Why did you, okay, first, when did you start working with Room to Read? And why? What drew you to the charity?
So many things. I actually love this question. Not because I get to talk about myself, but I get to talk about Room to Read in like a very personal way. So I have worked at Room to Read for just over 2 years. I've worked at a number of different nonprofits. And there's a combination of things at Room to Read that really drew me. First of all, the mission, but not just the mission, like specifically empowering girls is really important to me. But also, I am a bookworm and I love to read. So I just love that we're all things books at Room to Read as well. So it's like libraries and books, and like we have, we publish our own children's books in local languages, which I just think is amazing. And they're beautiful. And um, it's just a an organization full of people that are really passionate about girls' education and passionate about reading and passionate about education, which is really exciting. I feel like it's kind of like a community of people that share the same beliefs and values, which is really nice. The other side of things, which is slightly less is more of like a head thing than a heart thing, is that Room to Read, a lot of the founder plus a lot of the donors came from the business world, and so Room to Read is really data focused and very effective. So it's not just a great mission, but it's also being done in a really effective way, which for me sometimes you don't always get in the nonprofit world, especially if it's an organization that starts organically. It's volunteers and it's people who don't have the skills or the networks to be able to be super effective right away. It takes some time to get there. But with Room to Read, they all kind of from that mindset of, we're measuring the data is influencing what our next steps are. So that kind of speaks to the geek in me and also like effective altruism. So just like making sure that your passion is actually turning into amazing results, which I think is really exciting.
You're speaking my language. I
Yay!
Data, reading, education. How do our viewers, or how do I get involved? How can we help?
We be involved. Well, I mean, you're being involved right now by giving me a platform to speak about Room to Read, and also by highlighting some of our books and stuff, which is very cool. But yeah, if you we have volunteer chapters all over the world. That's in cities all over the world. So you can actually go on our website and look on I'm actually would have to check the exact section, but if you look for volunteering opportunity, you can send an email. We're headquartered in San Francisco, but there's chapters kind of all over the world, in America, in Asia, in Canada. They're all over the place. So you can get involved with a local chapter. You could also, you could start your own fundraiser if you wanted to do like a reading challenge or something cool like that. In September, we celebrate International Literacy Day every year. And we will be doing that again this year. So that's like a fun time to get involved in, like maybe set yourself a reading challenge for the year and maybe get your friends to sponsor you, or even just like reading one of our books on Instagram or on YouTube and sharing it with your friends. We have some of our local language books translated into English, which I think you guys have already enjoyed today. So you can get involved like that, just sharing our stuff in social media. We have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and a Twitter page. So you can get involved with some of the conversations. We share mostly on our Instagram and our Facebook and all of our social media, really, stories of beneficiaries whose lives you are changing every time you get involved. But we do also share kind of like education articles and news, because we like to kind of be in that space and learning and kind of thought leaders and knowing what's happening with education. So we share a lot of stuff like that. So just retweeting and sharing, or just getting involved in some of the little challenges, is always great. We would love for you to be part of that community.
Oh, I love it. I don't know if anyone else can see, like, I'm busy swooning over here. I definitely,
emojis.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I I'm definitely going to get involved in this. What's happening in September? I'll be back in the UK then, so I'll have a better internet connection, and hopefully I'll be able to read more there. Because I don't know if you felt this, but pandemic lockdown has been really affecting my reading. So I'm going to set myself a challenge because I have to ignore
Great.
my Goodreads challenge at this point because my year is now a write-off for my Goodreads challenge. But I'm going to use September as
Yay.
a way to get myself back on that horse. Ah,
A
amazing.
refresh.
Exactly.
Great.
A refresh for a good charity. I love it.
Exciting.
I've like gone off into my little planning phase here. Okay, so whilst we're on the topic of, well, whilst I've now just brought up pandemic, how has the pandemic affected the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so it has affected every element of our business. So obviously with the global offices, we're pretty remote anyway, in that we have, we don't have a full local office in every location. We have all of our global HQ in San Francisco. So San Francisco, London, Hong Kong, like the fundraising and development offices were able to work remotely pretty quickly, but that was not the case for our country offices. Not everyone has a laptop because they don't use it every day. So right at the very beginning, when the school closures were all happening quite rapidly, they were happening, of course, on different days and in different ways across each country that we were operating in. Because all of our work happens in the classroom and in the schools, we had to immediately think of a way to continue reaching children while they're at home, which of course is really difficult, especially in areas where there's a huge gap in access to digital content. So while kids in the US and the UK were doing Zoom meetings with their teachers and, getting emails from, their family was getting from school letting them know what's happening. It's not the same in rural Nepal, for example, or even in South Africa in some areas where we work. So it was really difficult, but some of the things that Room to Read had planned to do later on in our 5-year strategy, we were kind of already thinking about. And one of those things was a digital library, which had mostly just English versions of our books, but we were quickly translating them for those kids who did have access. So we now have, and this is pretty exciting, 900 titles on Literacy Cloud in 19 languages.
19 languages.
19 languages, yes. So yeah, and we're trying to translate as many as we can and keep updating them so that kids have access to that. But of course, that's only a small percentage of the children that we work with. So what we were doing is working closely with schools and getting contact details for families in the instance that we did. So where the families where we had a phone number, we were able to call them and just find out what their situation was and see if we could support them. Some countries had apps, like in Vietnam, and I think in India, they had apps where teachers were able to send homework and stuff to families that had a smartphone. So sometimes the internet's not amazing, but if they have a smartphone in the family or even one of their neighbors, they're still able to receive some messages. But even with that, through phone and internet, that's still a very small percentage. So we started thinking about what media does reach people. So we've been partnering with local government radio and TV. So we've been broadcasting. And that's been a range of different materials. So it's like, we're trying to support families. So a lot of kids are at home with not a lot of books, but also with families that maybe didn't have, that aren't literate. They could easily have parents that aren't literate. And even if they do have books, it's not like their parents are able to help them out. So we wanted to support families. We wanted to support parents to be able to encourage their kids to keep up their reading and keep up their schoolwork, even though we had no idea how long school was going to be closed. So we created content on the radio and on TV, which was audio, right? So it's helping parents to find a way to help their kids without having to read things. We were also doing things like encouraging art and crafts that they could do together, that is staying on like an educational theme. We had essay writing competitions, poetry writing competitions, just lots of creative ways to keep children excited about their education, because we don't know how long it's going to be until they're back in the classroom. We don't
Yeah.
know how much work out on, but we want them to be excited to wake up in the morning and to try and learn and to fit that into their school day or into their day. And we also kind of launched a little fun project of create a reading nook or your own home library, which a lot of the kids have been doing. So if they had some books at home and they could like get a comfortable little reading nook, and that was something that their parents and their maybe little siblings could help them to do with too. And that also fosters then a space for them to sit down together and read the books if they're able to do that. And we know that some of our kids, if they have a fully decodable book that they can read all the words, they're reading it to their siblings and to their mom and dad. So it's really nice that we're able to encourage those habits. Simultaneously, we've been working on a blended approach, because now we know this is going to be longer than any of us kind of anticipated at the beginning of the pandemic. We need to figure out, when schools do open, it's not going to be all kids back at the same time. There's going to be staggered returns.
It's stop as well. That's what
Exactly.
we're getting here in South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. That's already happening a little bit in places like India, where they're opening things up and then they're closing them back down, and then the cases increase. So we're already in and out of schools at the moment there. So we're trying to figure out how can we create a little bit of stability and have a blended approach where kids are getting TV, radio, and we're creating worksheets that they can take home with them if they are in school for a day. They're taking stuff home with them. Can we integrate a library visit on the day that they are there so that they are able to take books home? Because, if library day was Thursday, but your allocated day is Monday, then you're not necessarily going to get into the library. So we're figuring out how we can do that so they can take them home. We know that some teachers are actually delivering worksheets and books to kids who aren't in school. So it's been really incredible to see how quickly we've been able to adapt and to do these things. And we're collecting a lot of data now. So we're seeing how well those things are working. We've kind of been doing that since March or April. So now we're in a position to be able to think, okay, how can we improve what's working, what's not working, and where are the kind of the sore spots going forward. So we'll be refining our approach hopefully in the next couple of months. And with the pandemic, we know from crises like Ebola, the longer kids are out of school, the greater the chance of them not returning, which is really sad. Anything that we can do that will lessen that risk, that's kind of what we're aiming to do. Like, keep them encouraged, support the parents, work with the schools, and find a way and approach to support schools to catch up as well when the kids come back. We need to figure out how we can make sure that those 5 months, because all of these children are going to have a different experience of the pandemic. Some of them may have lost family, so a lot lost income. There's going to be a little bit of trauma too. So we need to make sure that when they come back, we have thought about all of those things, and our approach is taking that into consideration, because we want them to come back and we want to make sure that their education does not stop and is not interrupted for too long.
Yeah, and you probably no, that was great. And you probably also want them to not associate having to read and having to go to school with more negativity. So anything to make that return reading is positive.
Reading is proven to reduce stress levels. So even if they're not necessarily learning some of their other subjects, if they're still reading, that means that their stress levels are a little bit lower, and it is a nice escape. So if bare minimum, if we can keep them reading and enjoying that during this time, it's good for their mental health as well as good for their education. And of course, we know that when kids are reading, that it increases their vocabulary, it's good for their empathy. There's loads of other skills that they're learning whilst reading for pleasure, which is one of the reasons why it's something that we're so passionate about focusing on, because there's so many benefits that go way beyond just education and learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think empathy, I remember there was an article that went around a few years ago about how important reading was for developing empathy. But yeah, so many things. And I didn't actually realize it reduced stress, but I guess that actually explains a lot. So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
like for one of the reasons, the ways I think about it is like if you pick up a device or anything, there's always loads of distractions. But if you have a physical book, it's kind of one of the only activities we do these days where it's just that thing that you're doing.
nothing
There's no,
moving, nothing popping up.
and yeah, it does really, yeah, stress.
Amazing. Um, are you tailoring the books that you're translating to the current situation? Are you choosing certain themes, or are you choosing
That
like
is a
stories that are really optimistic?
that is a really good question, and I'm not sure if we're doing. I I'm I would guess yes. But what we normally do is the way that Room to Read writes books is we actually create workshops for local authors and illustrators. So we don't actually write the books ourselves; local people write them.
That's
So in
cool.
general, we have local people writing them and illustrating them. So wherever we like to have what we say two different types of books. So there's mirrors and windows. So we want the children to be able to see their own experience reflected in the books that they're reading, the children that look like them, children that eat the same food as them, and you know, their own landscape and that kind of thing. But we also want to make books available for them to learn about other cultures and to learn about different experiences to them. So we're very conscious of creating those types of experiences already. We're also very passionate about challenging gender norms. So making sure that the characters, you know, that boys and girls and kids of all different genders are have their own personalities and not necessarily subscribing to any stereotypes. We, a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2018, created 20 books in Arabic as a kind of one-off project in Jordan, which did speak to the refugee crisis. So in Jordan, there's been a huge number of refugees coming from Syria. And so the schools there were doing double shifts where the Jordanian kids were there in the morning and the Syrian kids were coming in the afternoon. And spoken Arabic is the same for both, but written Arabic is different by dialect. No, it's the other way around. Written Arabic is the same for everybody, but spoken dialects are different, which is why they had to split the class so that they'd be able to understand what's happening in the classroom. But all the children were able to read the same books. So the books that we created were, first of all, for the refugee children to see their experience reflected, but also for the other children to understand, you know, the types of things that their new classmates had experienced. And one of my favorite books that came out of that we published 20 books in that project was it's called A Plane. What is it? What is it in English? A plane that, oh God, I can't remember. It's something to do with like spreading love. So anyway, the little boy is speaking to his mom about the planes that are dropping bombs in his city where he comes from. And he's really sad. And he says, well, he grows up, he wants to be a pilot, but he wants to drop love. And so this really cute story of, in Arabic, the word war is very similar to the word love if you take out the middle symbol. So he makes a little flag for his plane and he's dropping things like flowers and love hearts. And it's such a beautiful book. So all this to say that I can imagine us creating something that also speaks to the pandemic or other experiences where children have, you know, been involved in something quite traumatic. So I have not heard that we're doing that, but I wouldn't rule it out because it sounds like something that we would do.
I love that you're using local like writers
Yes.
and illustrators, and that's also giving back to that community and encouraging creativity even in adults. So
Yes. We really want to help. So at the moment, the reason why there aren't a lot of local language books is because the children who speak those languages cannot afford to buy books. And so it's not an industry that has been flourishing on its own. And that's why Room to Read noticed that we needed to fill that gap. But what we really want to do is create a market. Like we want to create demand for those books. So we're currently creating them, but we would love if, 100 more publishers were publishing books in those languages, because you can never have too many books. And every child is going to read with a different type of story and a different type of book and a different character. So the more books available, the more chance every child has that one book that's going to kind of spark something for them. And yeah, so we want to have, celebrate local authors and illustrators. And one of the really cool things during the pandemic is we've been able to do those author and illustrator workshops online, which we've never done before. So the first online workshop happened in Cambodia and it went really well, which now means that we'll be able to do that even when things are closed, which is really cool.
That's amazing. I do feel like the pandemic has made everyone innovate very quickly. I used to work in online education until just as all of this started, and I could just see suddenly all of the schools that were like, we don't need an online platform. We don't need, suddenly they were all rushing. I was like,
yeah,
maybe you should have like started this sooner, but yeah.
Yes. There's a really funny meme going around. I think I saw it on LinkedIn where it says like, what influenced your business's decision to go digital? And then there's like
Yes.
three options, and like the pandemic, and it's like everyone's ticking that because it's like I think that we've been saying at Room to Read a lot is that like necessity is the mother of invention. So,
Yeah.
when you're left with no choices or no options, you just have to get creative, and you have to do things that are a little bit outside the box. And I don't think any of us would have realized how many opportunities there were to reach more children. Like through our work, we're reaching the kids in the schools that we're normally working in, but radio and TV means that we're reaching kids who are not in Room to Read schools, which means we're reaching more children, which is really exciting, because if we can foster a love of reading or encourage a family who never heard of us before or isn't in a room to read school, that's amazing. And we're really excited that we're able to do that.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so not counting the pandemic, well, you can if you want, but do you have like a really cool success story? Like someone whose life you changed, or a school maybe? Something
Yeah.
to really inspire us.
One of my favorite stories is about a little girl in our program in India who was 8 years old when we learned this story. I think she's probably about 10 or 11 now, and I'm very excited to find out an update if I can. But her name is Ragini, and she was in our program. She was very shy. Her mom was long-term ill, so she helped out a lot at home. Her father had a drinking problem and her home was a little bit chaotic. So that kind of manifested in her being quite shy and reserved at school. So when Room to Read came, what we do when we first get to a school is we establish the library. So that's like our first big project. And then, of course, we're training the teachers and the librarians how to use it, and we're filling it with books. But so that's kind of early on. And when we get there is the library. So it is, child friendly. Sure. We've got like an activity corner. All of the books are facing outwards so the kids can see the front cover. They're color coded, so children know if you're in grade 1, you can read this color. If you're in grade 2, you can read this color. So they know when they pick up a book that it's not going to be overwhelming for them, that they can't read any of the words, because they're going to pick up something that's to their level that they've learned about. And it's just like the walls are always colorful, and it's a really exciting, fun place to be. And of course, when it's being painted, the kids are like, oh my God, what's going on in there? Can't wait to get in. And then when they finally do get in, it's like super exciting. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because it's like, it's made for kids. It's colorful. It's cool. They can sit on the floor, they can pick out their favorite books. And so when we did that, Ragini was really excited, like all of her classmates, and just fell in love with the library and loved taking home books. And she just started to get really interested in reading, and her ability flourished. And she started to get a little bit more confident because she, through reading, was feeling more confident at school, and she was just getting stronger in her skills in the classroom. And her teacher, of course, was very excited to see her kind of flourish and blossom and be really excited. And after a year, she became a member of the Children's Library Committee, where she was responsible for helping the younger kids find books and help them with their reading, which is really incredible. And then on top of that, with all this newfound confidence and just having a lovely time at school and feeling really great, she kind of plucked up the courage to ask her dad if he could stop his drinking. And after a while, he did. So he completely transformed her household as well. And that was within
Wow.
8 of her learning to read. So yeah, that's my favorite story. Oh my, I feel a bit emotional. I'm so embarrassed.
No, but
That is
that's
one of
amazing.
yeah, it is amazing. It's the power of there's just so it's reading is so powerful, but also just like that tiny bit of confidence that you get when you start, because we're training teachers how to teach in a different way than they've done before, which is kind of phonetics and breaking it down and reading the stories and kind of eliciting answers from children. And so just seeing the transformation of when teachers feel empowered and they're delivering the lessons in a way that excites kids, and when kids start to see their own progress, how that makes them feel more confident and more excited. It's a ripple effect of that is just huge. And it's such a small thing, really, when you think about it. It's just like
Yeah.
making sure teachers have what they need, making sure kids have what they need. And you just never know how far the ripple effect of that is going to go. Her ambition is to become a police officer in her community, and I feel like for
That's
sure she's going to
cool.
do that, right? Yeah.
You also mentioned that you do work with sort of teenage girls, I think, or older girls.
Yes.
What sort of work is
Yeah.
that? How does that differ from the work you do with the younger kids? What sort of successes do you have with that?
So the literacy program came first, and what we were noticing is that even when girls and boys had the same opportunity and the same like primary school experience, that when it came to transitioning to secondary school and that adolescent age, in most of the communities that we work in, there's a huge amount of pressure for girls to drop out, and it's for a lot of different reasons. Like culturally, there's still a lot of people in the world who believe that there's no point in educating girls because they're just going to get married and have children and be domestic workers. And so it's a waste of time and money to invest in their education. And so they want them to drop out as soon as possible so that they're not spending any money on their books. There's also a lot of pressure on families if they are struggling financially and they have 3 or 4 kids. They're going to prioritize the boys, and so the girls are going to have to be the first ones to drop out. There's also a lot of pressure on girls, especially adolescent girls, to be looking after younger siblings or elderly relatives, or to fetch water or be responsible for cooking and taking care of those things in their own home. And probably the worst one of all is pressure for girls to get married at a very young age, often to a
Oh,
man who is much older. So with that program, it's less about the curriculum for us because they already know how to read and write. They've gotten to secondary school level. They are learning. They have that foundation. But what's actually important at that point is cultural barriers and helping them to build up their confidence and their self belief. Because if everyone's telling you that it's pointless you going to school and you're never going to do anything, it's really hard for a 12 or 13-year-old girl to have the resilience and the determination to say, no, I am actually going to continue my studies. And, if you have that conversation once and it comes up again, it's a barrier that they have to keep overcoming.
yeah.
If 12 and they manage to convince their family to let them stay an extra year, then they need to do that again, maybe 2 years later. So what we do is we have local women who mentor them, called social mobilizers. So that's a local woman who understands the customs and the culture, who speaks the language, and who is an example of a successful, educated woman. So they might not have any more examples of that in their life. So it's really nice for them to have somebody who's going to advocate for them, who is a living example of, someone who's happy in their choices. And, very often they become like almost like a second mom to the girls. They also deliver like life skills lessons, which is done. We support girls the whole way through secondary school. So from when they're 12 till they're 18. So we're with them for like 7 years, which is a really long time. But if you can imagine the transformative effect it is to have that positive enforcement for 7 years, and having that mentor be there. They know your family. They know your personality. They know your strengths and weaknesses. They're helping you navigate big life decisions like, what would you like to do after school? And it even goes back to basics of like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you like? We had a girl from India visit London to give a speech, and she said that one of the first modules of the life skills education is who am I, and kind of learning those things. And she said at 12 or 13, it was the first time anyone had ever asked her opinion on, ever asked her those types of questions, like, who are you? What do you like? And she didn't have an answer right away, because she was like, oh, I don't know. But now Kamla is in Delhi as a education specialist. So, and very outspoken and very passionate. She first became a nursery school teacher after she graduated high school. And after she did that, 8 more girls in her region were like, oh, I didn't know I could do something like that. That's a cool career path. So they all decided that they wanted to become nursery school teachers as well. So she became the new example for everybody. She decided that wasn't big enough for her. So she actually got a Gandhi Fellowship in Delhi to study education. And she's really passionate about transforming education in India for children. So she's, an amazing example. She's in her 20s now, having a fantastic life in Delhi, and all of these girls who became nursery teachers. And when she goes back home to visit her family, all the neighbors know, that this girl has had this cool job. And it just becomes so much easier then for the next generation of girls, or the next cohort of girls, to have that ambition and to have that drive, and to have that example there for them, and to be able to convince their parents that it is worth them staying in school. So that's the girls' education program. It's really about like helping them. If the girls decide that they want to get married at 20 and have 2 kids, that's amazing. Like we don't pick a career choice for them or pick what they want to do. We just want to make sure they have all of the choices and all of the information for them to decide, I'd like to become a teacher, or I'd like to set up my own business, or I'd like to, it's their decision. A lot of the time, if they're married at 12, those decisions have been stolen from them. They didn't get the chance or the opportunity. So we just want to put that back in their hands and let them be in the driver's seat and decide what they want to do for their life. And it's just incredible to see the difference that it does make. And we have actually started interviewing girls now 5 or 10 years after they graduate. And we're seeing that most of them are delaying marriage. Most of them are either, if they're in employment where they're still learning, or they're in education. And the most thing is that we have a question on there that asks them like if they're happy about the decisions that they made. And overwhelmingly the answer is yes. And like that's all we really want, right? We want to know that they're fulfilled and they feel happy about their choices.
Oh, I love that so much. And just on your point about, if they do decide they're going to get married and have kids, I mean, yeah, that's fine. And their kids are more likely to be educated and readers
absolutely.
And next generation.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why educating women is like a solution to so many of the world's problems. And illiteracy is one of them. There are 800 million people in the world who can't read and write. Our literacy program addresses that, but so does our girls' education program, because we know that when girls are educated, their children are going to be educated too, and that cycle ends in one generation. We also know that girls, earning potential increases between 15 and 25% for every year they complete of secondary school. So we're trying to get girls from 12 all the way up to 18, like that's 15 to 25% every year that has happened. So they're safer, they're healthier, they're more likely, like the child and what am I trying to say? Maternity mortality rates drop. Lots of other diseases drop when girls are educated. Like it affects everything. It's huge, and women are much more likely to put money back into their family and their community as well. And these women are starting their own businesses, and it's their whole community and their extended family benefits from them being educated, even if it is just to finish secondary school.
Amazing. I have a question from Charlotte. What is something you would love to do in the future with Room to Read?
Oh, this is great. So many things. So, with our books, I would love to see us do like a book series where you follow a character or a group of characters through lots of different adventures. I think that would be amazing. I think that might happen. So we'll see what happens. But I would like to see us in more countries. I would like to see us get our curriculum embedded in more governments, because, Room to Read would love to, move away from, if we have empowered a community and the government is training their teachers and is publishing books and has library time, that means our job is done. We can move on to the next community, the next country, and transform that education landscape there, because a lot of it is about knowledge transfer, right? Once we can get all of our experience and our techniques into a system, it will stay there. And, we have a framework that works, but the local people are the ones who are contextualizing it for their situation. So we just want to get that framework into as many educational systems as we can to improve outcomes for kids everywhere, and just get more books in kids' hands, and way more books and way more languages, and just like seeing more girls be empowered to kind of like take on their life and being the drivers of their own destiny.
Awesome. And another question, do you have a favorite personal memory from Room to Read?
I do. So last year I had the opportunity to visit our program in Vietnam. So I was accompanying a group of donors who were visiting, and it was an amazing experience. There was so many, like, we talk a lot about, our program and how it works, but it's very different to when you actually see it in action. And also there's just lots of little things that you don't expect until you see it in person. Like for me, seeing the relationship that Room to Read, like the Vietnamese staff there had with the teachers and the school, and the kind of bond that they form with them over the years that they're there supporting them. Like we got to the gate and the kids all knew Room to Read staff. Like they were coming out to say hello. They were drawing me pictures to welcome me in, and the kids were just like picking out their favorite books and showing me their favorite books, and they were drawing pictures inspired by their favorite stories. And the parents came and they were talking about how they feel so much more comfortable with helping their kids to read now that their teachers are able to support them, and they make sure their kids are checking out the books and they're taking care of them. And it was just incredible to see it all come to life like that, and to see the kids having a great time and just excited to read, and to see the teachers feeling, loving their job. Like nobody becomes a teacher because they don't want, it's a specific kind of person that becomes a teacher. Yeah. And if they were feeling disempowered or frustrated that they didn't have the skills, now they do have the skills and they have the support. And our staff coach them. They coach them in the classroom as well as one-to-one, and just to see them feeling really like good, like I'm good at my job and I'm enjoying my job and we're getting great results. And it was just amazing to see. And yeah, just the parents, so proud of the library that they helped to decorate, and just to see how a community can come together, and, be really passionate and excited about something, and just knowing that all those kids are just going to have so many more opportunities than were afforded
Yeah.
to the generation for them.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna wrap things up soon just because we need to do some announcements, but I do have one more question for you. And this is a
Yes.
personal question. You said that you are a book lover, a bookworm yourself.
Yes,
Do you
I am.
have a book that you read as a child that made a really big impact on who you became as a person?
Yes, I have a lot of them. One book that really stands out to me that I read in primary school was a book called Under the Hawthorn Tree. I can't speak. Under the Hawthorn Tree, which was written by an Irish author, and it's the story of children during the Irish famine. And it was just, I had read a lot of books to that point about other things in history that everybody knows about, but not very many people know a lot about Irish history. And when you learn about it in school, in a history book, it's not the same as when you're reading a fictional novel about that time. And I just loved it. And it made me fall in love with like Irish writers and learning more about like my own history, which is not necessarily very well known outside of my country. So yeah, it's a book that really, it's a very sad book, a very sad book for a young girl to be reading, but I loved it. And I'm still like that now. I still love a sad book.
I know.
Um,
Cathartic
I
cry.
love it's gonna make me cry. Yeah. So it's definitely affected me as a reader as well, I guess.
Oh, okay. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much to you and to Room to Read for partnering with us for this first ever Camp YA. To everyone watching, please go on our website, check them out, get involved. This is an amazing charity, and like Leanne said, they actually use data to back up their decisions, which is so important because you don't want, you know, to be spending money on things that aren't effective right now, especially right now.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so thank you,
That's
Leanne,
exactly right.
for
Thank you
joining
so much
us.
for having me, and good luck to the competition winners. Yes, thank you. It's been
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. And I think our captain is about to pop in a second to announce the winners. Oh, here she comes. Oh, I can't hear
Hello,
you.
everybody.
Oh, there we go, Captain.
Ooh.
So thank you, Leanne,
Um,
and welcome, Demet.
Hello. Yes,
So,
I'm here
Demet.
to announce the winners.
Woo! Drum roll. Wait, how many winners do we have?
4 of them.
4 giveaway winners. Are we also announcing our winning cabin?
Yes. So we have that makes 5 announcements. So we have a winner from our Instagram giveaway. We have one winner from our Twitter giveaway. We have one for the Campway Cup for most creative entry, and for best team spirit. And then obviously we're gonna announce which cabin won over all of them.
Yay!
Are you excited? I am. I
I'm
mean, I know it's
so
winning, but
psyched. I'm a bit I'm a bit sad, but we're not gonna say why yet. We're gonna wait until we announce some other things,
yeah.
and then I'll explain why I'm so sad.
Let's start with the easy ones that are less emotional.
Yeah.
Our Instagram giveaway was won by Ivy. Ivy is lost. We're gonna message you separately so you can claim your prize. Our Twitter giveaway was won by Kumizan, if I pronounced that correctly. We're also gonna message you
Woo!
and go on to the Camboya Cup one. So most creative entry has to definitely go to Claire. Her handle is Ninja Pot of Can. She has been amazing and all over and did a lot of the challenges, but mainly she's done this amazing comic strip about her favorite camp activity.
Oh.
And it's just like,
honestly, though, I
well
think
done, Claire, for
this was a
being
really
so
tough
creative.
decision, right? Because we had some amazing entries.
Oh my god, yes.
You
There was
campers
some really
were
good entries,
incredible.
and like there were also like so many amazing entries just from Claire. Like, it is creepy how much that girl has done throughout the weekend, but like
Right?
she deserves this.
Ugh.
Yeah. But our best team spirit goes to Larissa at Larissa's Galaxy, because she has been on this since basically Thursday, where she posted her like, this is what I'm taking to camp and how we're doing this, and like got everyone excited about starting the whole thing. See her throughout the quiz and all these, always on Discord, on Twitter, everywhere, on YouTube. Check out her YouTube channel. So she definitely deserves a prize for this. So Larissa, we're gonna contact you so you can get your prize.
Awesome.
Now, the sad announcement is what Team Cabin won.
Wait, damn it!
I'm saying
which
that...
cabin are you on? In?
Yes.
Which one are you in?
I am the camp counselor for Team Trout.
And I am in
both
cabin in team Ren, which means, damn it,
we both didn't win, which means Team Beaver has gotten the prize. And I'm telling you, by more than 100 points more than Team Trout, who's in second place. And
I don't even want to know about Ren. Ren's, what were we doing?
A lot of team spirit. Ren tried really hard. Ren had the downside, sadly enough. Like, our numbers are decently even. But
Beaver out.
Ren had the...
Did you see that? Steven just jumped in.
That most of the members are authors, and most of our authors did not participate as much in the cup challenge. So, like, they were really active in promoting and being here, but sadly, I posted less amazing comic strips, which is fine, which we're all fine with. But yeah, Team Beaver, absolutely the bomb. Can't do anything. Anything else but just like be amazed of what they've done. So yeah, be proud of yourself. Celebrate tonight, all of you guys. And obviously, before we close up, thank you to all who came and everyone who's done something. Thank you to all of our partners and shops who work with us and all of our participants. And thank you to Room to Read for being such an amazing charity partner. If you do have some time and if you do have some money, please do remember to go on our website and check out Room to Read and donate, because if you like this and you want to support us, there's actually no way how you can support Campway. You can only support the people we work with. So do go and spend some money, on the market.
Emotional support. Give us compliments. Yes, that always works. We all need a drink. We all need a hug. Demet needs a hug, except a socially distant one. Don't touch her.
Yes. Until then, go and check out the Market Square. The discount codes, most of them are still up for today until tonight, to midnight. A few of them are running for the rest of the month, so do come back if like payday is happening. And until then, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I am now gonna turn off the video for the last time, but you will be able to catch all of this replay on Twitch for the next 14 days, and everything will be on YouTube once I'm back in the UK, which is in a week and a bit.
So give us some time for Dani to come back to the UK for us to be able to like view all the footage and cut it all up and re-upload it, but it will all be on YouTube. And follow us on socials so you know when we do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, campers. Thank you, all of our other counselors. I'm actually going to put up a screen right now so you can see the amazing people who have worked on this. Wrong screen. Where am I? What am I doing? Not the right thing. Here, all of our counselors. You can see them all on the screen. Awesome people. Also, our giveaway people also coming on your screen. But yeah. Bye, guys. I'm out. Demet's out. Audio off.